What's up, guys? It's Drew with Field and Fowl here. Today we're going to talk about how to turn these old mallard decoys or whatever you got into black ducks. This is a real cheap, fast, and easy way to do this. There's probably 100 different ways that are a lot better than this, but this is on a budget and not putting a whole lot of effort into it. Total, you're probably gonna have, it's gonna take a few days because of the different coats, but 20 minutes a day for like 3 days, and you've got a dozen pretty good looking decoys. The idea with these isn't really to be the prettiest, but to add, that black contrast on really like muddy, dark water. We hunt on the Ohio River a lot, and with these, we're just looking to add numbers and that black contrast in with the spread, and we're just gonna mix these in with the rest of our decoys. We're just using old junky decoys that have been sitting around for years, and this way we're adding some visibility to migrating birds coming through, flying down the river up and down, and hopefully these will add a little bit of pulling power to our spread. And it's essentially free. You're only going to need like 4 colors of spray paint, and 2 of the colors you could use for probably 6 dozen decoys. So, under 20 bucks and not that much time, and you're cooking. Got some good looking decoys. So there she is, kind of the finished product. And I'll show you how we go about doing it. So with these, we're not gonna do a whole lot of prep work. We're really just gonna wipe off the dust and dirt. My idea is, especially with the hen mallards and really with the drakes too, minus the heads, once that spray paint that we're gonna put on them starts chipping off and fading, it's gonna look more real, because a black duck isn't black. It's just really dark mallard, and it's got some grays and browns in with the feathers. So hopefully as these decoys wear, they'll begin to look even more realistic. But just wipe off, the old dust and dirt. And with our other decoys we're gonna do, we'll do a little more prep work, especially ones with white on them. But with these, I think the more they start wearing away, the better they're gonna look. So let's get her clean, and then we're gonna take just some of the Rust-Oleum camouflage flat black spray paint and just paint the whole decoy. Just start, it doesn't matter where you start, just cover it all up. Make sure you get in all the grains and stuff of the feathers, and just let that sit and dry. And we're gonna let that sit for a whole day, and come back to it tomorrow and finish with the next coats. So the next step here, we're just going to do a little patch on the head. It's like the grayish brown color, and all you want to do is get you a scrap piece of wood and lay out some blue painter's tape on that wood and press it down pretty good. And what we're going to do is that little streak that kind of goes from the bill to the eye on a black duck, we're gonna tape that up, so when we paint the head, that stays black like the rest of the decoy. So just cut you an even line off there. It doesn't have to be perfect because it's going to go into the bill some. And we're just going to take a box cutter and run this down and kind of taper it off towards the end there. And do another one on the other side. And you can keep using this for multiple decoys. Keep using the same piece of tape, and you're going to end up with a strip of blue tape about like that. See how it kind of tapers off there? And you're going to take that right here on the head of the decoy and run it onto the bill a little bit, overlap the bill, and run it straight over the eyeball of the decoy. So you want to cover it up about like that. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. Just pull your piece of painter's tape off. And again, there's nothing to be perfect about this. You just want it to kind of taper off, because we're just going to lightly dust the head with a gray to give it the look of a black duck. Take that, overlap the bill again just a little bit, go straight over the eyeball and bring it back, and just, you know, make sure you press it down good so that paint doesn't penetrate underneath there. And that's what it should look like at this step. So for painting the head, we're just going to use like a gray primer. Any automobile primer will work fine. This is a Krylon Color Master gray primer. And just make sure it's flat. Doesn't really matter what you use, but any primer usually that I've seen is flat. So just get a good primer, and then so with the head, make sure you've got your can shaken up real good and got it spraying good and black. You don't want any of that liquidy stuff coming out of the paint. So we're good and gray, and we're gonna set the can back a pretty good ways, and we're just gonna lightly dust this head. You do not want this to be solid gray. You just want a quick dusting. And we're gonna do a quick strip straight across right here. You're gonna wanna avoid the top, and you don't, you know, you can get a little bit down here, but just do a quick strip right there. All right, now once you've done that, we will get something to cover up the body of the decoy, and I'll show you here real quick. So once you've got your gray, you kind of do a quick dust over there. You can put this on there before, but just come and just, like I said, very quickly dust this with the gray. You do not want much at all. And then that's all we're gonna do. We're gonna flip it around, stick this down there. This is just a piece of cardboard from any old box. You can get a little more detail with this, but this is just a quick and easy way of doing it. Start at the bill on this side and just a quick dust. And that's all we're gonna do right there. We're done, and you got a nice amount of gray. And we're gonna let this dry overnight. And once you peel that painter's tape off, you'll get a real crisp black line, just like you see on a wood duck, and it really looks sharp. It's kind of an unnecessary step if you're just going for numbers, but it really makes it look good in my opinion. So we'll set this down and let it dry overnight and do the next step. So here's what you end up with after that gray paint dries. You got that nice little black strip running through there, and they're all going to be a little bit different because we're just, you know, we're going for a real light natural look on these. So once you have that done and dry, you're going to grab your decoy and some painter's tape and just grab you off a strip of it, about a foot or so. And you're going to come down right on the bill on the side, press that down good, fold it, go across the top, press it down real good, and then fold it again and go along the side. Bring it down some, cover up whatever you can, break off whatever's left, and just go across that top again to get a nice even line across there. This doesn't have to be perfect, but we're just trying to cover up the head. And I'd go ahead and grab another piece of tape and go right behind that one, just to keep this yellow from the bill from getting on the rest of the decoy. We'll cover that up, and you can go as crazy with this painter's tape as you want. I tend to use not very much and just be real careful when I'm painting, but if you're not very delicate with a rattle can, then use more. I'm gonna go ahead and do a little bit under here, and so that's basically what we're gonna end up with. We just want that bill exposed. So the next color we're going to use is a yellow. Now this is a Rust-Oleum paint and primer ultra cover. This is not flat like the rest of them. I don't think it matters as much on the bill because the duck's bill really isn't flat colored anyway. So just what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab our same piece of cardboard that we used to cover up the body of the duck before and just slide it under there. Just cut that out, you know, round. Stick it underneath it just to kind of cover it up. But remember, be careful with this yellow because you do not want to get this on any other part of the decoy. And then we're gonna just paint the bill. And then we'll flip it around. And take your piece of trim, make sure you rotate that around. Like I said, if you're not real good with a rattle can, use more of this cover up, use more painter's tape, whatever you need to do. I'm just going for bulk numbers here and fast, so. That's all we're gonna do on the bill. And just leave that tape on there and let that dry overnight. Again, like I said, actually before you let it dry, we can do the next step and just let it all dry at once. Again, this next part is very simple. All you need is some blue spray paint. This is a gloss paint primer, true blue. You could use a purple, blue, mixture of both, whatever you want to do. You know, depending on how the light's hitting the feathers on a black duck. It looks blue or purple or whatever. I just went with blue. And this is a gloss. It's not flat because, you know, those feathers have to shine. And we're just going to cut out a piece of cardboard at an angle like that, and that's all we need. So we're going to bring this down and make sure that, you know, the angles are facing the right way with the feathers. And come down and just set that over top. There's usually a spot on the decoys where it was before, and we're just going to hit that blue just a real quick squirt, and that's all we're going to do. Then we'll flip it around and give it a real quick squirt, and that's it. Let that sit, let it dry, and then we're gonna seal it up with a flat protective coat when we're done. So the final step is to put a protective coat over the top of this. This is a Krylon Clear Color Master flat crystal clear protective coat. Make sure it's flat. Don't get satin, don't get anything else. This is the most important part because the whole decoy will have shine if this has shine to it. If you can't find this, then I would just not even do this last step. You have to get flat on this step or it'll just ruin the whole decoy. There's ice there. What are you doing? Go on, get out of here. Go on. All right. So we're just gonna lightly dust the whole decoy, and you can be as crazy with this as you want. I would do a light dusting each time, but you can do as many coats as you want. I'm just probably gonna do 1 or maybe 2 coats on these. And just cover the whole thing real evenly. And we're just trying to keep that paint from chipping off. And let that sit, and if you're gonna do another coat, let it sit overnight. Do another coat, and you should be good to go. Here's one once it's totally done and dry. This is kind of what we got. I might come through with a Sharpie and kind of, you know, do a little black spot on the bill there, and then, you know, repaint the eyes black to get them round. But essentially that's what you're gonna have. And so, like I said, you could do a dozen of these for under 20 bucks and, you know, under an hour, hour and a half time over the course of 3 days. But